What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. We're just doing a little sports talk today. We got a lot of football to talk about. We're doing an NFL preview today. Being said, we got a little bit of non-football first. First, we're going to talk about the standings for baseball. American League Central. Guardians continue to play well. They are now 4 games ahead of the White Sox and the Twins. The White Sox are actually tied for second with the Twins now. The Twins are struggling. They've lost 5 straight games. Just lost one of their best players, Byron Buxton, to an injury. He was placed on the IL a couple days ago. So Guardians have a 4-game lead for the American League Central. In the American League East, Yankees division lead continues to shrink. It is now down to 7.5 games over the Tampa Bay Rays. Rays are hot, won 5 in a row. Within 7.5 games of the Yankees. It is August. It is in late August. 7.5 game is still a pretty big hill to climb for the Rays, but considering at one point they were close to 20 games out of that division, because of how great the Yankees are playing. Of course, now they've been struggling for a little bit last month and a half, especially these last few weeks. 7.5 games out, and it's come a long way. So we'll see what happens in that division. American League West, Astros continue to dominate, 12.5 games ahead of Seattle. National League Central, Cardinals have built a 5.5 game lead over Milwaukee. They are red hot. Albert Pujols, obviously in his last season in the league, one of the greatest right-hand hitters of all time. He's been hot. He's up to 693 career home runs. He is 7 away from becoming the 4th player ever to get to 700 and 3 away from tying Alex Rodriguez at 696, which is 4th all time. Mets, we rated by a game and a half. Braves are hot. I think they're like 15-2 or something in the last 17 games. Ever since the Mets took 4 out of 5 for them, so the Braves have gotten back within a game and a half of the Mets. Mets starting 4-game series against the Colorado Rockies tonight. Then National League West, Dodgers, of course, pretty much have that division on lock. 19.5 game lead over San Diego Padres. Wild card race in the American League, the first wild card. We're now with the Tampa Bay Rays. They have a game and a half lead. They now are the first wild card. Toronto's second spot. They're a game ahead of Seattle, who has the last spot in the American League wild card. Baltimore Orioles are 2.5 games back, and the Minnesota Twins and Chicago White Sox are both 4 games back of a wild card spot. In the National League, of course, the Braves have a 10-game lead for that first wild card. The second spot right now is the Philadelphia Phillies, who are 2 games ahead of San Diego. San Diego has that final spot in the National League. The Milwaukee Brewers are a game and a half out of the playoffs, and they're really the only team that's winning. We were really within striking distance. San Francisco Giants are 5.5 games out, the only other team that's even somewhat close to the striking distance of a playoff spot. That's baseball. We got some breaking news out of the NBA. Kevin Durant will be staying in Brooklyn. Very, very surprising. On June 30th, he requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. Named the teams he wanted to request a trade. A couple of weeks ago, he reiterated his trade request and told Nets owner Joe Tsai that you either have to fire head coach Steve Nash and general manager Sean Marks and then I'll stay, or if you want to keep those guys, you have to trade me. And then all of a sudden, now he met with Nets brass in Los Angeles. He met with owner Joe Tsai, GM Sean Marks, and head coach Steve Nash, and they said that apparently Joe Tsai's words were they will continue their partnership as he will be staying in Brooklyn. Not too sure what changed for Kevin Durant. I just think that they probably told him, look, we're not going to be able to trade you. When you're healthy, you're the best player in the NBA. You're a 12-time All-Star, a 2-time NBA champion, a Finals MVP. You're going to go down as probably a top 20 player at the very least all time. No one's going to pay what we want. The best offer they got was probably from Boston. I think it was Jaylen Brown, maybe Marcus Smart or something, and the first round pick. No, it was Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and the first round pick. That's not enough for Kevin Durant. Jaylen Brown's a great player. I like Derek White. He was big trade deadline pickup for the Bucks last year. He's a good player. He can score a bit. He's versatile, really good defender. But that's just not enough for Kevin Durant. He said he wanted to go to Phoenix, where we can't make work out a trade. Devin Booker, who they may want back, you might want a superstar back, and Devin Booker is a star in this league. He's still young. He's got a contract extension, so he can't be traded for like another 6 months. DeAndre Ayton would have been a big part of that trade for number one pick. Big man. They just maxed Indiana's option for him, so he can't be traded for like another 6 months. So Phoenix really doesn't have the pieces to work up a trade now. So he wants to go to Miami, but Kevin Durant says he's not going to Miami unless Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo are in the trade. Although Jimmy Butler probably wouldn't be getting traded. If Brooklyn were to be trading Durant, probably going to be also trade Kyrie and go into a bit of a retooling phase. So bringing on, a veteran player on a big contract. Although Jimmy Butler is a great player, one of the league's best, very underrated player. Not the smartest idea, probably not the best fit in Brooklyn. But I think Bam Adebayo, they're definitely going to want, probably a trade going to want centered around him. He's a young superstar. He's like a $30 million AAV, so they can make the money work. And they may need Kyle Lowry to make the money work, too. He's also a very good player. So if he wants those three guys on my team, at least one of those guys will have to be in the trade. At least one of Bam and Kyle Lowry to be in the trade, if not both. So I don't think it works. I heard Boston was interested in him, but if Boston's not going to give up, more than Jaylen Brown and Derek White and one draft pick, that's just not enough. That's the only thing they're willing to do. And I heard a few days ago Memphis was starting to dip their toe in the water in the negotiations. I don't see that trade happening unless John Morant somebody. Memphis is not trading John Morant, nor should they. And I haven't really heard of anybody else who's super interested. Durant's super interested in going to, and anyone else super interested in trading for him. I mean, the guy's 34 years old. He's on a huge contract. His AAV is like $49 million a year. He's due $44 million this year. He can't stay healthy. He's a distraction off the court. He always wants to have all this power. He's a player, which doesn't make any sense. If I'm a team, so I'm not giving up. My best player, a couple of other good young players who are going to be great players in a couple of years already are really good, and 4 or 5 first round picks for this guy. And Durant also he can't carry a team on his back. He needs another superstar. Oklahoma City, he needed Russell Westbrook, and they couldn't even win a championship. And they had James Harden at one point when he was really young. Obviously in Golden State, he joined Golden State. They already had Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. And Brooklyn, he had Kyrie Irving, and for a short time, I also had James Harden again. So I guess he's realized, all right, a trade's not going to happen. He probably figured, all right, if I stay, Kyrie's going to stay. He already opted into the last year of his contract. So those two are, maybe the best duo in the league when healthy. They're never healthy, and they're always causing issues off the court. But when healthy, they are an incredible duo. You'll have Joe Harris, who's one of the league's best shooters. You'll have him healthy. Hopefully you have Ben Simmons healthy. Though he can't shoot, he's definitely not worth the contract that he's on. That was a big mistake by the 76ers a few years back. He is a great defender, and he is a good passer, and he can rebound, and he can handle the ball. Just, once he takes it, taking it to the rack, he can get to the hoop, just can't put the ball in the hoop. He can help you as a facilitator. Steph Curry's a really good scoring point guard that you have. You have some other role players. And the Claxton's a good young big man who can shoot a little bit. Good rim protector. It's a team that could easily be a top 4 team in the East if they're healthy. They're never healthy. I don't see them staying healthy, but on paper, they are our only team. Just they can never, what's on paper never, goes as planned in Brooklyn. I don't think it will. Perfect. All right, let's stay for this year. After the year, if Kyrie decides to resign long term, then maybe all right, he'll do whatever. He'll stay long term, or he'll at least play out the rest of his contract, which he's got 3 more years on. Maybe if Kyrie leaves, and then maybe he'll look to go somewhere else. Tries again next year. Although next year he'll be going to age 35, and obviously with all his injuries and all of his baggage and the money, might be in the same situation. But that's our worry about trying to see if they can get a championship out of this group, this team. Once they trade for James Harden, giving away all their young pieces, and I think they give up 7 total first-round draft picks, basically all their draft picks. That team was built to win multiple championships, and so really, if they only get one, that's, I guess, still success, but it definitely could have been better. But they are going to try to see if they can win a championship. They're going to just cross their fingers and pray that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving can both stay healthy and not cause too much commotion. You get Joe Harris back. He can stretch the floor with a full year of Steph Curry. Ben Simmons healthy. He can help you on the defensive end. He can pass the ball. He'll have shoes around them. Your other role players like Nick Claxton will play step up. Hopefully you can make a run. I don't think it's going to happen, but on paper they do have a great team. That being said, I've been saying that for probably about 3 years now, and they've won one playoff series. Kevin Durant staying in Brooklyn. With that, without further ado, let's get to my NFL preview. I'm going to go team by team, division by division. Going to go over, the offseason moves that each team made. I'm going to go over my standings prediction, division by division. Well, let's start with the Buffalo Bills. Okay, the Bills are a very safe Super Bowl bet. They have a top 5 quarterback in Josh Allen. They have a loaded offense, so many weapons there. They got a great defense. This team filled all their holes this offseason, and they needed a little bit of help, a pass rush, and they went out and signed Von Miller, who is probably a future Hall of Famer. A little older, but is still a great player. Was a big pickup from the Rams with the trade deadline from Denver last season. Probably shouldn't have given them 6 years. Being said, the Bills are worried about winning the championship now, and definitely bringing him in will definitely help them do that. They need another piece in the secondary with Levi Wallace leaving in for agency, and Tre'Davious White. He's coming back from an injury, a major injury that is. And they draft Kyle Allen in the first round. I really like him coming out of Florida. I think he can make an impact week 1. I think he'll start week 1. The run game needed a little bit of help. Team was a little bit too pass heavy, and they draft James Cook in the second round, a young back who I really like. I think he'll catch a lot of passes for that Bills offense. Bills seem to really like him in training camp. Of course, his older brother Dalvin Cook is one of the best running backs in the NFL for the Minnesota Vikings. You also have Devin Singletary there, who down the stretch played really well. I'm thinking Singletary will probably be the 3-down back, and then Cook will probably mix in on third down. He'll be the pass, maybe a little more of a pass catcher. You still have Zach Moss there as well for depth. You locked up Stephon Diggs. I like you bringing in Jamison Crowder as a solid player. You have Gabriel Davis, who I think is really underrated. Had a big game in the playoffs last year, of course. I think could have a really good year. Also knocked the tight end. Also signed O.J. Howard from a first-round pick by the Bucs, who, when he's gotten opportunities in Tampa, has been a very good pass-catching tight end for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Pretty good offensive line. One I don't think is elite, but I think it's decent. Josh Allen also has so many weapons, and he can make someone play with his legs. So not having an amazing offensive line, but at least having a decent one, I think is more than enough. You got a great left tackle in Dion Dawkins. You got a great center in Mitch Morse. Spencer Brown, the right tackle, is pretty good. They got good depth. They brought in some depth this offseason. Did just trade Cody Ford to Arizona. The guy can play guard. The guy who's many guards played tackle before, but really is playing guard. You add Roger Saffold, will probably start a left guard. You add Greg Van Roten from a New York Jet for depth. Ike Boettinger played a bunch last year. You have him if someone goes down. So you got pretty deep offensive line. Definitely will help them on defense, along with Von Miller and Kyle Allen, who you had in free agency and the draft. You have a couple of good young D linemen that you drafted over the last few years. Inside you have Ed Oliver, who's a former top 10 pick. Coming off the edge, you got 2 guys you drafted last year, Gregory Sowell and Boogie Basham. You have Jordan Phillips for depth up the middle there. You have 2 great young linebackers in Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds. You have maybe the best safety duo in the league in Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. A great coach in Sean McDermott. Although you lose your offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, your quarterback's coach, Ken Dorsey, is now the offensive coordinator, so it should be a very smooth transition. You still have Leslie Frazier as your defensive coordinator. This is one of the most well-coached teams in the NFL. All the pieces are there. And they also got the punt god now, Matt Araiza. That's a very cool nickname for Matt Araiza. They got all the pieces in place. You could argue they are the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. I have them, of course, winning the AFC East, finishing in second place in the AFC East. I have the New England Patriots. So New England, second year of the post-Brady era with a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones last year, had 10 wins and were in the playoffs, but were shellacked by the Bills by 30 points, 47-17 in the wild card round last season. This year, Mac Jones is in the best shape of his life. Supposedly, he's developing into a really good leader for the New England Patriots. They got a really good running game with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, and I think are two very underrated backs. Damian Harris is a great player. He's good for, I would say, at least 900 yards. Ramondre Stevenson's a good young back. He can catch the ball. Don't have a proven number one receiver, but I do have a couple of solid ones. Devontae Parker is a solid player. Jacoby Myers is pretty good. Kendrick Bourne is pretty good. They also have two very good tight ends, Hunter Henry when he's healthy, and Jonnu Smith. They have a very good offensive line. Trent Brown's a real good left tackle. He'll be a left tackle. They're going to move Isaiah Wynn to the right side. They are considering trading Isaiah Wynn, but he's there for now, and my guess is he'll be there week one and probably for the whole season. I don't think it makes a ton of sense to move him, considering who would start in his place. But their depth isn't the greatest, so on the O-line, so if you move him, that's going to be a big downgrade. You have your right guard, Michael Wenu, is quietly developed into one of the best offensive guards in the league over the last couple of years. A solid center in David Andrews. Although they do downgrade at left guard, trading Shaq Mason to Tampa and drafting Cole Strange in the first round, which a lot of people considered a reach. Cole Strange has had a really good camp. They seem to really like him. And I don't think we should be doubting Bill Belichick. I'm a Jet fan. I know more than well enough never to doubt Bill Belichick. So they still have a very good offensive line. So I do have a couple of issues with the team on defense. I think they're due for a lot of regression. They do have Matthew Judon on the edge, and he's a guy who had a great year last year, career year for the Patriots last year. That was a really good pickup in free agency last year. I like what they have inside with Davin Gochow. You have Lawrence Guy, who's been there a while. You dropped the Christian Barmore last year. Henry Anderson's a versatile D lineman who's really good against the run. Being said, they lose two big pieces. They lose their middle linebacker, who's been there a long time, at Delta Hightower. He retired. He's being replaced by Mack Wilson, which is certainly a downgrade. And you lose one of the best corners in the game in J.C. Jackson, who leaves in free agency. He signed with the end of his Chargers. He got a big contract from them. And the guy you signed to replace him, Malcolm Butler, which is a huge downgrade, is now hurt. He's on injured reserve. Might not play this season. Didn't even play last year because he was retired. They brought him out of retirement. So the rest of their defense, at linebacker, Mack Wilson's pretty good. Josh Uche is still young. He's pretty good. Raekwon McMillan they have there is okay. Jelani Tavai is okay, but just still, it's definitely the linebacker definitely took a hit by losing to Hightower. I like what they have at safety. Devin McCourty's still a good player. He's been there a long time. Kyle Duggar's a good player. You have Jabril Peppers there. I like them picking up him. More New York Giant and Cleveland Brown. Of course, you graduated from the University of Michigan, but their starting corners right now are Terrence Mitchell and Jalen Mills, which doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. So Patriots, who had arguably a top 3 defense in the NFL last year, I think are due for a lot of regression. I don't know where the pass rush is going to come from outside of Matthew Judon. Their linebacking core could use a boost. I think, they're going to have a lot of trouble covering some receivers this year, and they got a lot of fast receivers in their division. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Elijah Moore now with the Jets. Now, of course, the Bills have Stephon Diggs, who's one of the league's best. There's a lot of talented fast receivers in this division. They'll see 6 times a year. And with Terrence Mitchell and Jalen Mills as your top 2 cover corners, that does not exactly seem like a recipe for success. So I don't love their defense this year. That being said, it is Belichick. I'm sure they'll find a way. That is a fair assumption. That being said, I have another concern. Who is calling the plays for the Patriots? Their long-term offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, left this offseason. Of course, he was hired to be the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Leaving the Patriots without an offensive coordinator. They did not bring somebody in the offseason. They have not named anybody. They brought back Joe Judge after he was fired by the Giants as a head coach, who was their special teams coordinator prior to becoming the Giants head coach 2 years ago. Brought him back. Apparently, he's now the quarterback's coach. And Matt Patricia, who of course was the Patriots' defensive coordinator for a while, had a very horrendous stint as the head coach of the Lions, and they brought him back last year as an assistant on the defensive side of the ball. Apparently, now he's on the offensive side of the ball. He did work as an offensive assistant in 2004, but that was 2004. That was, do the math, 18 years ago. Apparently, I think he's like the running backs or the wide receivers coach, and it appears that they are both calling the plays. I don't trust either one of them to call plays. And those are the two offensive coordinators. If Tom Brady was quarterback, probably wouldn't be much of a concern. If Joe Judge called this some stupid play, Brady can just just scream, "No, we're not doing that. This is the play we're doing. If you don't like it, too bad." With a young quarterback and Mac Jones only in second year in the league, that's a little more concerning. So the play calling issues that could arise, and just the lack of firepower on defense I feel they have are a little concerning to me. That being said, they do have a young quarterback in Mac Jones, who I think is very talented. I thought he played well as a rookie. That being said, he's very boring. I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I mean, he can't make many plays with his legs. He's just, he's a pocket passer. He's very accurate. He doesn't turn the ball over. He played well as a rookie. He's a guy that I think it's going to be very easy for him to league to figure him out. When you have some other guys who have a little more to the repertoire than Mac Jones, they have a little more of a consistent deep ball. They might be able to make plays with their legs. Those guys, it takes them a little bit longer to figure those guys out. If Mac Jones, a guy who just drops back in the pocket and just zips it over the middle, he's a guy who relies more on his accuracy than his arm, than his deep ball. That's really not that hard to figure out. So I'm a little worried they might figure him out, which could cause for maybe a bit of a sophomore slump. Do have two concerns, but they are the Patriots. They still got Belichick, and as long as they got Belichick, they have a chance. And they'll certainly be very competitive this year, either way. This might come as a surprise, but in third place, I have the New York Jets finishing in third place in the AFC East. Okay, I'm a big Jets fan, so I may be a little biased, but hear me out. I know the Jets, and they suck, but I think there's finally some hope for this team, and I think they can take a step forward. They have a young quarterback in Zach Wilson. It's a shame he hurt his knee in preseason. Good chance he will not play week 1 against Baltimore. First of all, they have Joe Flacco there. He's played a lot of football, of course. Played with the Ravens for a very long time. He won a Super Bowl there. Won a Super Bowl MVP there for the Ravens. So I think the Jets should be just fine week 1. That's still going to be a tough game. Baltimore's a really good team. They're a much better team than the Jets. Probably going to lose that game either way. But I think they do still have a fighting chance with Joe Flacco. I don't think all hope is lost because Zach Wilson's out that game. Should be back by week 2. So it's not a huge deal. They got a pair of two good young backs. Breece Hall you bring in through a draft. It's a team that adds a receiver in the draft as well. And Gary Wilson with a 10th pick. I really like him. I think he could be a very good vertical threat. I think he could be dangerous in the red zone. Losing Mekhi Becton, not having him for basically a second straight year. Played just one game last year. We'll probably won't have him all year this year. Hurts. Well, he looks like a lost cause at this point. Mekhi Becton looks like another missed draft pick by the Jets. But they do sign Juwan Brown to replace him. Although they signed him very late in the offseason. They didn't sign him until preseason started. And he is 37 years old. He is starting to decline a little bit. He's still a good player. Wasn't a Pro Bowl last year for the 5th time in his career. I think can still be a pretty good left tackle. Then now you have Font on the right side, where he's probably more comfortable anyway, though he played well left tackle last year, and they were going to play him at left tackle this year and move Mekhi to the right side to take some pressure off Mekhi Becton coming off the injury. Font also has more experience at right tackle than left tackle, so probably better fit anyway. I love their guard, Laken Thompson, a big offseason pickup. Really good run blocker. Perfect fit for this offense since he's coming from the 49ers, so of course he knows this offense. Michael Flores, their offensive coordinator, he was the 49ers assistant before coming to the Jets. Of course, Robert Saleh took him with him when he went from the 49ers defensive coordinator position to the Jets head coach position last year. Roger Tucker, first round last year, played well last year. A really good young player. I like him. Not loving Colin McGovern as starting center. He's been a bit of a disappointment over the last couple of years since he signed. But I think the rest of the line is pretty solid. So the offensive line, although still is far from elite, I think it will be better. On defense, they're going to have Carl Lawson healthy. He's a really good edge rusher you signed last year, only from the tear of Achilles before the year even started. You add pieces in your secondary. You draft Amal Sauce-Gardner in the first round, a young corner who I think can make a difference. Week 1, I really like him. He's already talking trash in training camp. Robert Saleh, he talks the most trash of any rookie he's ever seen. I love them getting Jermaine Johnson in the first round. I think he's a really good young edge rusher who I think has a lot of potential. You also add DJ Reed in your secondary. He's a good cover corner, still young. Jordan Whitehead's a pretty good safety who you add. Quentin Williams has quietly turned into one of the league's best defensive tackles from our 3rd overall pick. You got him. Jonathan Myers is a good versatile defensive lineman who you have. You got some good depth on that D-line. You know, Solomon Thomas is a guy who's a complete bust from a top 3 pick. But he also does know Robert Saleh's defense very well, of course. He played under him in San Francisco. They got Chilton Rankins there, who's a pretty good player. You have some other good depth guys like Vinnie Curry, former Philadelphia Eagles edge rusher. You know, Bradley Nye, we drafted a year or 2 ago as a kid. I think he's got some talent. You know, CJ Mosley's a really good middle linebacker. Quincy Williams played well last year. You know, you bring in Quan Alexander, another guy who's past his prime. But he also did play for the 49ers at one point, so he does know this defense. He's still an okay player. You know, he's better than whatever the alternative is. You know, they got a group of young corners that I really like. With now you draft Sauce-Gardner, you bring in DJ Reed for agency. You also have Michael Carter II there. I thought he played well as a rookie. Brendan Eccles played well as a rookie. You got Bryce Hall there, who I don't love. I thought he's been kind of torched and covered a little bit, but he is still young. He does have some potential. You know, safety could be a little better, but Jordan Whitehead's pretty good. You got Lamarcus Joyner there. He's an okay player. Ashton Davis is a young kid you drafted a couple years ago who I like. If he can stay healthy, I would like to see him get a shot. So, it's still a really young team. Being said, the 2 main problems last year I thought were the offensive line. You have the 4th most sacks in the league last year, and just lack of playmakers for Robert Saleh on defense. They had a bottom 5 defense in the NFL last year. I think the defense will be a lot better with Carl Lawson healthy, and then just bring in, you know, through the draft, you bring in Ahmad Gardner in the secondary, and then Jermaine Johnson off the edge, and then in free agency, you bring in DJ Reed to help your secondary. Your Jordan Whitehead, he's another guy you bring in. So just add those pieces on defense, I think will really help them. On offense, I think Zach Wilson is going to be a lot better. So he got himself in really good shape. Worked hard this offseason. Obviously, he's been in the news lately. I won't mention exactly why. Everyone knows. That's not related to football. I'll leave it at that. And now, you know, drafting another good young back along with Michael Carter and Breece Hall, having Elijah Moore healthy, hopefully, crossing my fingers, drafting Gary Wilson. You add 2 good tight ends, and CJ Uzma, especially, and Tyler Conklin, who played well in Minnesota last year. You also drafted Jeremy Rucker out of Ohio State in the 5th round. He's a kid that I like. I think the Jets look a lot better on paper. I feel like I say that every year. Every year, I'm like, you know, I think they could finally take a step forward this year, and a couple of years could be good. And then they go out and win 4 games, and it's back to the drawing board. But I believe in. I think this regime's a little different. I like Robert Saleh as a coach. I like this young quarterback, Zach Wilson. I think he's got some potential. He obviously struggled as a rookie, but he also had no weapons, not much of a run game, and a horrible offensive line, a rookie head coach, a rookie play caller, and a horrible defense. You know, coming out of BYU, not exactly a quarterback factory over there. So I think all these guys have another year under their belt. The guys they bring in, I think they could be a lot better. Do I think they make the playoffs? Probably not. I doubt that, especially in the AFC, which is loaded. You're going to have to win 10 games most likely to get in, and I don't see them doing that. But I do think they could possibly get to 8 or 9 wins and be competitive throughout the year. And in last place in the AFC East, I have the Miami Dolphins. Right, on paper, The Dolphins have a pretty good team. They made some moves this offseason. They got probably a better fit for this team, in my opinion, for a head coach. Mike McDaniel from more offensive coordinator of the 49ers. A kid who I really like, a young coach who I like. They got a really good group of running backs. Chase Edmonds, I think, is a guy who could really shine if he's a starter, which it looks like he is. He's a guy when he got opportunities in Arizona. He's a guy who is a real solid runner and is a great pass catcher. You have Raheem Mostert, who of course knows the offense. He was injured last year. Of course, played for the Niners the last couple of years. Had a lot of success. Was very productive. So he knows the offense. He knows Mike McDaniel. You have Sonny Michel, who played very well for the Rams last year. You also have Miles Gaskin, who can catch the ball. So you have an incredible group of running backs there. The big move was bringing Tyreek Hill, top 5 receiver in the game, maybe the fastest player in the league. You had him. You already have Jalen Waddle, who's a great young receiver, who's incredibly fast. You have him already there. A great talent over there, and Mike Gesicki on the offensive line. You had Terran Armstead, who's an excellent left tackle. Was injured last year, but for his entire career, he has never had injuries. I'm confident he can bounce back. They got a solid defense. Emmanuel Ogbah rushing the passer inside. Christian Wilkins, a good young player, as is Raekwon Davis. Melvin Ingram's a little older, but still a pretty good player. A linebacker, Jerome Baker's a good young player. You have over there Jamin Phillips from a first-round pick I like. Outside linebacker. I love their secondary with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones at corner. Two good young safeties in Brandon Jones and Javon Holland. I think they got a real good defense. But I have a couple of problems. The little less obvious one, although they did add Terran Armstead to the offensive line, I still don't think their O-line is great. Your center is Connor Williams. I think it's okay. Your guard, you have Eichenberg, who's you drafted last year, who's a tackle, kind of struggled, and they're moving him to guard. Your Robert Hunt, who's been inconsistent, and your right tackle is Elson Jackson, former first rounder, who really hasn't worked out. So even without adding Armstead, I still don't think you have a great offensive line. O-line struggled last year, give up 40 sacks, which is not a great number. And of course, the one concern that everyone has and everyone's looking forward to see what happens is the quarterback. Tua time or not. Tua Tagovailoa, the guy, more 5th overall pick, very high talent out of Alabama, has been a major disappointment, had trouble staying on the field, he's had some injuries, he's been very inconsistent, he's had some turnover problems. My thing with him is I don't trust him. I don't. I liked him coming out of Alabama. He was a kid. I know he's very undersized at 5'8". He's a little scrawny, throwing left-handed. But, there's been not that many of them. There have been undersized quarterbacks who have succeeded. There's been left-handed quarterbacks who have succeeded. Wasn't too worried about that. I thought if he could stay healthy, of course, the really main concern about him was, can he stay healthy? He obviously came off that broken hip. His last year at Alabama, he had some injuries dating back to high school. But I thought if he stays healthy, he's a kid who's extremely accurate. He's very careful with the football. He can make a lot of plays with his legs. And in college, I thought he had a very special arm. I like his arm. I like his arm talent coming out of college. But the NFL, the injury bug has stayed with him. He's missed a few games. Had some trouble staying healthy. He's been very erratic with the football. He has not shown any mode to push the ball down the field. He's had some turnover issues, and has been a major disappointment so far. And this is his last chance. They got Brian Flores out of there, who we didn't get along with as head coach. They got a better fit as a head coach, a more offensive-minded guy than Brian Flores, who was a defensive-minded guy. They have a better coaching staff in here that fits to his needs. They got him a stud receiver. They improved the run game. The O-line will be at least a little bit better by bringing in Terran Armstead. They got a good defense, which of course they've always had. So it's on him now. But I just don't trust him. I haven't seen anything that has really. He's had a few games where he's played well and it has looked better than he has at other times. But I have never really seen anything from Tua that made me go, "Whoa, he's arrived." I have not seen that in 2 years with this kid. Also, the Dolphins just caught tampering for Tom Brady twice. And like last year, they were trying to trade for Deshaun Watson, even though they knew he was probably going to be suspended for a long time at some point. They kept asking Brian Flores, who was of course his head coach at the time, kept saying Tua is our quarterback, Tua is our quarterback. Meanwhile, you got the arbitrator swirling around. You had they tampered with Brady in 2019 when he was still with the Patriots, and last year when he with the Bucks. So I just think clearly they've been trying to at times have been looking to upgrade over him basically almost since they drafted him. So I don't really know if the Dolphins have any confidence in him. This is this dude's last chance. It's ship in or ship out. The pieces are there. On the O-line still has a little bit of concern with the O-line, but he can make plays with his legs, so it shouldn't be as big of a concern. He's got to go out. He's got to go out. He's got to bowl out, and Miami's got to win football game this year finally. And I'm not sure. I just don't know about this kid too. I'm just not sure if he's the guy. So I have the Dolphins finishing in last place in the AFC East. AFC North, winning that division, I have the Cincinnati Bengals winning it for the second year in a row. The Bengals, main concern was, of course, their offensive line, which gave up the second most sacks in the NFL in the regular season last year. They gave up 55, the third most, and then including the postseason, gave up 71. And they revamped their offensive line very well this offseason. They signed a real good right tackle in Lyle Collins. You bring in Alex Kappa, who's a really good right guard. You saw a solid center and Ted Karras. On the left side, you have Jordan Williams, a good young left tackle. Jackson Carmen, the second-year player, who now has full full awareness of the guard position after being moved there in training camp last year. I think will be better. Joe Burrow is a young star in the making at quarterback, arguably a top 5 quarterback in the game. He's got the best receiver trio in the league. Jamar Chase is a beast. T. Higgins is a great player. Tyler Boyd is very good. I like Hayden Hurst. Him replacing Uzma. I think he'll play pretty much the same role. I think he'll produce about the same. The guy who hasn't had a ton of opportunities since being a first-round pick. He was, he had some injuries, and last year in Atlanta, then drafting Kyle Pitts. But de facto, he was demoted to the second string. Got a really good young back in Joe Mixon, who can catch the ball. And last year ran for over 1,200 yards. He's a great player. Their offense is loaded. Very underrated defense. They got a great passer with Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. Inside, you got DJ Reader, a very good player. BJ Hill is there as well. I like Logan Wilson at linebacker. He's a good young player. I like their secondary. Trivia Woods is a very good cover corner. Had a great year last year. Mike Hilton's a good slot corner. I know you still have Eli Apple there, and he is terrible, but Cam Taylor-Britt was the kid that you drafted this year. I think will eventually take your spot. It's a versatile DB that I like. They got 2 really good safeties, Jesse Bates III, who finally reported to training camp, and he has signed his franchise tender. Yeah, Von Bell's a really good player. So this is a really underrated defense. Very well coached team with Zach Taylor. Did a great job last year. I thought should have been head coach of the year. This is a great team. They have all the pieces in place. I think a Super Bowl run for the second year in a row is not out of the question. In second place in the AFC North, I have the Baltimore Ravens there. The Ravens had a very good offseason. Their offensive line, which really struggled last year, had a lot of injuries. Nolan will be healthy. Ronnie Stanley, one of the league's best left tackles. You'll have him healthy. I'm not sure if could miss the start of the year, but should have him at least by the very early portion of the season. Kevin Lowry, who's a great pass blocker, you'll have him healthy. You also add a very talented center in Tyler Linderbaum in the first round of the draft. I really like him. You also signed Morgan Moses, who was, was kind of mediocre for the Jets last year as a right tackle. He was a guy who just did not bring in until, midway through training camp. He didn't win the right tackle job over George Font. And then, all of a sudden, week 2, he went from, probably going to be like a swing tackle to, he's being thrown in there. That's bizarre when Mekhi Becton got hurt. Now that he was signed, much earlier this offseason than last offseason, he'll have some time to, get acclimated to his new teammates and his new coaches and his new team. I think he'll be serviceable over there. And having Staley healthy, having Zeitler healthy, with Linderbaum and Ben Cleveland is a second-year kid. I think the O-line will be a lot better. Last year, he gave up the second most sacks in the league. And the Ravens team, when they were healthy, they were rolling last year. They were 8-3, looking like they're going to compete for possibly the number one seed in the AFC. And then all the injuries happened, and they lost out. Ended up finishing at 8-9. Yeah, Lamar Jackson healthy. We have a contract except for week 1. Remains to be seen, but I assume he'll be playing for the Ravens either way. That's not much of a concern. Will be, obviously, if he doesn't get a contract extension the offseason, major concern, but for the regular season, shouldn't be, shouldn't affect the Ravens season whatsoever. J.K. Dobbins, young back who's really good. You have him healthy. I know Gus Edwards is out until at least week 5, but you still have Dobbins. Mike Davis is a good pass catching back. Lamar, of course, is going to run a lot. Receiver room isn't the greatest. Rashad Bateman, first round of last year, that played well as a rookie. You do have him there. I do like him. The rest of the receiver room, Devin Duvernay, James Proche, Jamarcus Robinson, leaves a lot to be desired. They're also going to run the ball a ton, maybe more than any other team. And they also have a top 3 tight end in the NFL, Mark Andrews. I think defensively should be very good. You got Calais Campbell, the veteran, is still there. You have Michael Pierce, who you reunite with. You have him in the middle. Got some good young linebackers like Patrick Queen. Dave Owald's a good outside linebacker. You have first round pick last year. You have Tyus Bowser there as a good player. Now being healthy in the secondary with Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey. With you bring in Marcus Williams and Franz. He's a really good pickup for that secondary. Drafted Kyle Hamilton. I love that kid coming in Notre Dame. You have Chuck Clark there still. Should have a really good secondary. I think their identity is back. Running the football and playing great defense. I think they'll be able to do that this year. With everyone healthy, of course, they got the best kicker in the world too, Justin Tucker. That's something. I also remember they drafted David Ohaba in the second round to be playing for his defensive coordinator last year, who comes back, Mike McDonald, who returns to the Ravens, now defensive coordinator after he was an assistant with them for 6 years, and last year went to Michigan to be the defensive coordinator. I think David Ohaba could be the steal of the draft if he stays healthy. Of course, coming off a torn Achilles that he suffered, right around the combine. I think this Ravens team is a really good football team. I think they'll be in the playoffs. Probably neck and neck with the Bengals all year. I have them in second place. In third place in the AFC North, I have the Cleveland Browns. Obviously with Cleveland, the whole quarterback thing. Deshaun Watson now suspended for 11 games. Their starter right now is Jacoby Brissett, which leaves a lot to be desired. They have a lot of good pieces there. They got a great running back duo with Nick Chubb, who's a beast. Kareem Hunt's very good. No, Kareem wants to be traded, but he's there for now. So they won't trade him. They do have Durant Johnson, who played very well when those two guys were hurt last year. Bringing in Amari Cooper is a great player. He's one of the best vertical threats in the league. You also have Donovan Peoples-Jones is pretty good. You draft David Bell, who I like. You got a pretty good tight end, David Njoku. Harrison Bryant's also a young tight end that I like. They got a great offensive line. They got 2 incredible guards in Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller. A really good right tackle in Jack Conklin. A good young left tackle in Jedrick Wills. Even Poisic, probably a little bit of a downgrade from J.C. Treader, who you had last year. But still, they have a great offensive line. A great running game. Should have a solid defense with Myles Garrett, who's a beast. Still have Jadeveon Clowney, who you re-sign. They got a linebacker. They got a young linebacker in Jeremiah Koromoa up the middle. I'm a little concerned. Their D tackles. Kayvon Bryan's not very good. My first round pick, who's been a disappointment from the Jaguars. You draft Perrion Winfrey out of Alabama, who I like, but he is a rookie. It was only a 4th round pick. In the secondary, I like Denzel Ward. He's really good. Recognized him from a draft pick about a year or 2 ago. I like their safeties with Brad Delpit and John Johnson. A little concerned, their linebacking core, a little inexperienced, and their interior D line isn't great. But they will have a really good pass rush and should have a very good secondary. That being said, they've had a really rough offseason with all the distraction with Deshaun Watson. I can't imagine they're 100% focused right now. Watson is officially suspended for 11 games, but now they gotta get Brissett right. They're considering trading for Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. They probably should do because he's definitely better than Brissett. And just bold distractions, I think, is going to kind of get the best of them. Remember, Deshaun did not play last year, so it's going to be, almost 2 years after when he comes back in Week 13. You know, will Cleveland, what will their record be at that point? If they're in contention for a playoff spot still, Ken Watson, I think is going to be rusty because he hasn't played. Have not played in over a year and a half, almost 2 years. So I just don't know with all the issues that they have, all the distractions they have right now. So I think they're going to be in third place in that division. And last place in the AFC North, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Never thought I'd say that, but the Steelers, I have them finishing in last place in the division. Moving on from Ben, and then you sign Mr. Trubisky. He's not very good, Mr. Trubisky. He just isn't. Kenny Pickett's look good in preseason, their first round pick. I think we'll see him a bunch this year. I don't have confidence in Mr. Trubisky. They have a great set of weapons. I love Najee Harris as a beast, a young running back. Deontay Johnson's a great receiver. Chase Claypool's pretty good. He's a clown, but he's pretty good. I love George Pickens. I think could be offensive rookie of the year candidate. I really like him. He's looked great in camp. Second round pick out of Georgia. Very physical receiver with good speed. Got great footwork, great hands. He's got the whole package. I like Pat Farmer for young tight end. Another concern I have is the offensive line, which struggled last year. They do bring in James Daniels at right guard. He's pretty good. Cole's not a great pass blocker, but he's a good run blocker. He's a little better than the Kendrick Green we had at center last year. Chukwuma Okorafor was pretty good last year. Your right tackle. The left side with Dan Moore Jr. and Kevin Dotson. It's concerning now. So I don't think they have a great offensive line. Defensively, you got TJ Watt, who's obviously a beast. You got Cameron Hayward's a great player. You bring in Larry Ogunhobi to boost their D-line. Devin Bush has not been the same since his rookie year, but he is a pretty good player still. You had Miles Jack, who's a good young linebacker. Secondary, you had Levi Wallace, who I like. Corner, you got Akel Witherspoon there. Cameron Sutton's there. I like your safety. Mika Fitzpatrick is a great player. For Edmonds is very good, so I think they got a really good defense. Which last year was basically just the TJ Watt show. It's, obviously still featuring TJ Watt, but now he's got a little bit of help, and they got some great weapons, but Mr. Trubisky is just not a good quarterback. Their O-line is still a concern. So I just think, they're gonna just not gonna be able to get good quarterback play. O-line still isn't great. So I think that's a concern, so I have to stay away finishing in last place. Moving on to the AFC South. Winning that division, I have the Indianapolis Colts winning the AFC South this year. They did a good job this offseason. Upgraded quarterback, which they needed to get rid of Carson Wentz. You bring in Matt Ryan, who's older. I think with some good pieces around him, can still be a solid starter. I like them drafting Alec Pierce in the second round to boost their receiving core. On defense, you had Yank Ngakwe, who's a good edge rusher. I do like, they had Stephon Gilmore's an underrated move that they made. He's a little older, but still a very good starting corner. You got still a good offensive line. I know you lose two guys. You lose Eric Fisher, your left tackle. You don't re-sign. You lose your right guard, Mark Lewinsky, who was a very good player. You still have Quentin Nelson, who's a beast at left guard. You have him healthy. Ryan Kelly in the middle. He's one of the league's best center. Bryce Hunt's a really good right tackle. So even though you have a youngster, Matt Pryor at left tackle, and an unproven right guard, Danny Pinter, I still think they have a very good offensive line, which is still one of the league's best run blocking lines in the league. And they're going to be a run first team with Jonathan Taylor, who's a monster back there, can catch the ball, one of the best backs in the league. You have some weapons. Michael Pittman Jr. is a really good young receiver who I like. Paris Campbell's pretty good. I like Alec Pierce, like I just said. Morley Cox is a good red zone threat, tight end. Moving out with Jack Doyle, Foley gone. He's the main guy at tight end there. I think he'll have a big uptick in targets and could be a guy who could have a little better year than people expect. They got a really good defense. I know they lose their defensive coordinator, Matt Everfluss, but I believe they brought in Gus Barrett to replace him. They should still have a very good defense. You have, like I said, you had Yank Ngakwe. The fourth bucker in the middle is a beast. You have Quiddy Page, drafted last year in the first round. We're like, linebacker, apparently now his name is Shaquille Leonard, Darius Leonard. Apparently his first name is not Shaquille. He can change his name or something this offseason, but whatever his name is, he's one of the best middle linebackers in the league. Bobby O'Kekri and Zari Franklin are also there. I like to say, even though Kyrie Willis shockingly retired after only 3 seasons, Kenny Moore's a really good cover corner. You add Gilly, Stephon Gilmore. Julian Blackman's a really good young safety. You have Rodney McLeod there, who's pretty good. So you still have a very good defense and a great running game. I think this is a really good team, the Colts, and they should win the division. Finishing in second place, I have the Tennessee Titans. Titans lost some pieces this offseason. They traded away one of the best receivers in the NFL, A.J. Brown, to the Levy Eagles. You lose one of your starting O-linemen in Roger Saffold. So that's a couple of big pieces that you lose. You have Tannehill there still. Didn't have a great year last year. His first year and a half as a starter, he was great. And last year he had some regression. Although Derrick Henry, hopefully he stays healthy. Of course, if he's healthy, he's a beast. You did bring in Robert Woods. You draft Treylon Burks in the first round. I do like him. Bringing Austin Hooper's a pretty good tight end. But just losing A.J. Brown as a kid, they used him for everything. He was a vertical threat. They used him, for the short pass over the middle. The catch and runs. They use him kind of like Deebo Samuel at times. Out of the backfield, he would do some end arounds. Just not having him is such a huge loss. Robert Woods is a good player. Should be healthy by at least the very beginning of the year. But he's not A.J. Brown. I like Burke, but he's a guy who missed a lot of time in training with some injuries. So it's not good for a rookie. Austin Hooper's older. The O-line's also concerned. O-line, which wasn't great last year. They gave up 47 sacks last year, which is not good. You lose Roger Saffold, who you let go. You have a great left tackle in Terry Luan. Ben Jones is pretty good. Your center, Nate Davis is okay, right guard, but your left guard's Aaron Brewer, who I've never even heard of. Right tackle is Dylan Randuz, who second round of last year, he struggled as a rookie. Not sure if he'll be able to take a step forward. So their O-line's a little bit concerned. I like their defense. I love their coach, Mike Vrabel, very underrated coach. I like Jeffrey Simmons. He's a great player. If Nico Autry there, you have Harold Landry's a really good young edge rusher. If Walter Preet's healthy, he can be a good player. Zach Cunningham in the middle of that defense is very good. They got two good young corners in Caleb Fraley and Christian Fulton. Kevin Byard is a great safety, one of the league's best safeties. They got a very good defense. But just, they drafted Malik Willis for a reason. By the way, he's looked really good in preseason. I think he's got a lot of talent. He's got a big arm and can make plays with his legs. Still, the offensive line, which, last year struggled, didn't really bring in anybody and then even lost a piece. Just help, A.J. Brown is such a big loss. I think this Titans team is going to regress because the Colts are a team that, at 9-8 and probably shouldn't be even better than that. Those last 2 games against the Raiders and the Jaguars probably should have won both those games and been in the playoffs and probably would have been a tough out in the playoffs. And, if they bring in Matt Ryan, just them being a lot better and the Titans being a little worse. I think Titans finish in second place. In third place in the AFC South, I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it should be a little bit of night and day for the Jaguars. I'm not saying they're going to the playoffs, but having now Doug Pearson as a coach, who I think he's not a great coach, but I think he's a decent coach. Kicking any worse than Urban Meyer. Trevor Lawrence, we forgot how talented this kid truly is. I think he'll take a big step his second year. Having ETN healthy. You have 2 good young backs. I think Jim Brown might see him more on the earlier downs, and then ETN got to be a guy who catches a lot of passes. Then you add Christian Kirk, who you did overpay, but he is a good player you bring in. Then you add Zay Jones to your receiving core. Evan Ingham, who has trouble with catching the ball at times, but at times he is also pretty good. Now, if he's healthy, Brandon Trump's a great right guard. I like them bringing him in. I like the young center Luke Fortner, who you draft. On defense, you beef up the D line with Fotokasi and Ward Robertson Harris. You draft Devin Lloyd in the first round, a kid who I like. Trevor Walker, first overall pick. He's really, really talented. I like you signed Darius Williams to boost the secondary along with Shaquille Griffin. They made a lot of moves this offseason. I think they'll be better. Still think they have a true number one receiver. Christian Kirk is Salvador Jones is pretty good. Zay Jones is pretty good. You still have Laviska Shenault there. Ingram at tight end. Also have Dan Arnold, who before he got hurt last year was playing well. You got him in a trade of Carolina. O-line should be better. Two good young tackles with Cam Robinson and Jawan Taylor. If Sheriff's healthy, which I do think he can stay healthy. Forner as a young center. Indeed, like I said, they had two guys on my D line. You have Josh Allen from up the edge. You add Lloyd in the draft and Walker. So that front seven, you add a lot to. You add a lot to secondary. I think Andre Cisco, a young safety, will get a chance to play now. I think will help them. So I think overall they are better. They are still really young now. Defense is better, but still I don't think it's great. But it's definitely a lot better. But their O-line's better. Overall are a lot better. I think they'll make some progress this year. But probably not going to the playoff, but they do make some progress. Finishing in last place in the AFC South, I have the Houston Texans. Looks like another long year for the Texans. I'm not too confident with them promoting Lovie Smith to head coach. I don't think he's that great of a head coach. He was okay in Chicago. It wasn't great at Tampa. It wasn't very good at University of Illinois either. We'll see how he does, but they haven't got much to work with. They got a young quarterback in Davis Mills, third round rookie. I liked how he played last year. I thought he played pretty well, especially considering the circumstances. I think he definitely deserves to have a chance to show what he can do as a full-time starter in the NFL. So I do like them bringing Marlon back. 2019 over 1,000 yards, was injured in 2020. Last year, just didn't get any playing time because of Jonathan Taylor. Colts actually tried to trade him, couldn't work anything out. But he's a kid, I think if he stays healthy, could kind of surprise some people. Damian Pierce, a fourth-round rookie, who they really like, who I think might start for them. Rex Burkhead, contributed as much as he could last year. The offensive line there was horrible. I like Brandon Cooks, a great receiver. It's a shame John Mechie will miss the year because of his cancer diagnosis. Hope he gets well soon. But Nico Collins, a young receiver that they Texans really like. I think has some talent. We'll see what he can do. O-line isn't great. Thompson's a good player. He's got a bad attitude, and he was not worth all those draft picks, and he commits too many penalties, but he is a pretty good player. He's a pretty solid left tackle. Especially on their guards, or Justin McGray is not very good. A.J. Cannon isn't great. Justin Brett center is very mediocre. Titus Howard, our right tackle, has been a disappointment. Our offensive line is not very good. Wasn't good last year. He got 44 sacks. Probably isn't any better. And this defense, this front seven is not good at all. They have no pass rush. Their best pass rush is Jerry Hughes, who's over the hill. Inside there with Malik Collins, who hasn't played and I don't even know when. Last thing I remember was him smoking weed on social media and saying that he was quitting the NFL after he got suspended for the second or third time. Linebacker Christian Kirk is pretty good. The other two guys, Guru Hale, Kevin Pierre-Louis, don't inspire a lot of comments. They have some young DBs they like. Derek Stingley, third pick. I like him a lot. Very talented, though he may be a bit of a product. He had some injuries his last 2 years with LSU. Steven Nelson, you bring in as a good cover corner. I like him. I like Dylan Petras, second-round pick, who will probably start for them this year. He's had a really good camp. Texans really like him. Eric Murray's an okay player you have over there. This is a team that's still really young, very inexperienced. A big question mark at quarterback, not a lot of weapons, a terrible offensive line, horrible defense, no pass rush. Question mark at head coach. There's question marks all over the roster. They'll be in last place and probably going to win 4 or 5 games the most, and we'll probably have a top 5 pick again. We want your O-line to do draft Kenyon Green, who will probably start a left guard. I forgot to mention that. So that helps, but still, their O-line isn't great. Their team is not good. Shipping to the AFC West. Best division in the NFL. 4 potential playoff teams. Can the Chiefs still win the division? I think they can, and I think they will. I feel the Chiefs finishing in first place in the division. Obviously, losing Tyreek Hill is a big loss. Top 5 receiver in the game. That speed, that vertical threat, that the deep play threat, you don't have him anymore. I like the receivers that they bring in. I like Juju Smith-Schuster having him healthy. He's a really good player. Sky Moore is a second-round pick, is a very talented receiver. Marcus Valdez-Scantling is pretty good. You bring him in. Defensively, I like you drafting George George Karlaftis in the first round, young edge rusher, and you draft Trent McDuffie, a young corner. You also add Justin Reed, plays Tyrann Mathieu. Matthews, the little guy's a little older, still really good. But Reed did have a good year in Houston. I like him. And look, they got Patrick Mahomes still. He's the best quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. They got Andy Reid still, great head coach. Eric Bieniemy's offensive coordinator. Clyde Edwards-Helaire healthy, good young running back. Got the best tight end in the league in Kelsey to go along with those with their solid receivers. I think they got a really good offensive line, which will be healthy. Orlando Brown's a great left tackle. I love Creed Humphrey. It's center, one of the league's best centers. You got Joe Thuney, who's a great left guard. Andrew Wylie is solid at right tackle, and Trent Smith at right guard. Should have a very good offensive line. I think last year we were very inconsistent defensively. Off to a rough start, then they got hot, and they kind of slowed down the stretch. And of course, struggled in the postseason. We'll be pretty good this year. Bring in Karlaftis. You have Frank Clark, who took a pay cut to say the team is a good player. Carlos Dunlap, you bring in his older, but still really good. You have Chris Jones up the middle. Nick Bolton and Willie Gay, two good young linebackers you have there. You draft McDuffie to help your secondary. You have Jerry Sneed, a good young corner there. You have Justin Reed, Lon Thornhill, a pair of good young safeties. I think they have a solid defense. Offense is still going to be electric because they still got Mahomes, Kelsey. The coaches are there. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire stays healthy. I think can really help them this year. So I think Kansas City is still an elite team, and I think they still win the division. In second place, I have the Los Angeles Chargers finishing in second in the AFC West. Huge offseason for them. They did a really great job this offseason, boosting their defense. They bring in those older but still outstanding edge rusher and Khalil Mack. You pair him with Joey Bosa, that's going to be scary. You add one of the best corners in the league, J.C. Jackson, on a 5-year deal. Might miss the first couple of games of the season, but he'll be back, I would think, by at least week 3. So 2 to 4 weeks. So he should be back very, very quickly. I love the Chargers bringing in him. You drafted Allen Johnson in the first round, continuing to revamp that offensive line. Should have a very good offensive line. Herbert's an absolute beast at quarterback. Top 5 in the game. Austin Eckler's a great running back. Amazing pass catcher. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, great receiver duo. Jared Evans a good tight end. Donald Parham played well as a rookie last year. Joshua Palmer's another young receiver you have who's very good. Like I said, they got a good offensive line. Rayshon Slayer's a great young left tackle. Yeah, Corey Lindsey is a great center. 2 solid guards, Matt Fowler, and the rookies, Allen Johnson, I think will produce as a rookie. The rest of their D-line and their whole defense, you have Bosa and Khalil Mack on the edge, Kenneth Murray in the middle at linebacker. I like Sebastian Joseph Day on the interior. Yeah, your other corner, Michael Davis, is pretty good. Bryce Callahan on the slot's very good. Derwin James is one of the league's best safeties. Zero Adderley is also there. I think he's a pretty good young player. Brandon Staley now has the playmakers that he needs to transform his defense. I think they'll be a lot better, and they'll be in the playoffs. Third place in the AFC West, I have the Denver Broncos. It is so loaded. I think Denver also goes to the playoffs. We've been saying for years, they're a quarterback away. Well, newsflash, they got the quarterback. And Russell Wilson, I know he's a little older, didn't play great after the injury last year, but I think he was playing hurt. I think Seattle kind of rushed him back because they saw how bad they were without him. He didn't want to be there, I didn't think. He's taken so many hits. But he's still a great quarterback who's an 8-time Pro Bowler and a Super Bowl champion. He's got an incredible deep ball. He's got a really good young back in Javonte Williams. Melvin Gordon also still there. He's a solid running back still. Great set of receivers. Courtland Sutton's really good. Jerry Jeudy is very good. I think with a actual good quarterback, I think he could produce a lot from our first-round pick. KJ Hamler's a good young player. You have the young tight end Albert Quigboonam or whatever his name is. With Noah Fant on, he'll be the starter. I think he could be a good security blanket. They got a solid O-line. Garrett Bowles is a good young left tackle. Dalton Risner is a good young guard. You have Lloyd Cushenberry at center. Graham Glasgow is your other guard. They have a solid offensive line. Got a pretty good defense. Assuming you have Bradley Chubb healthy. If him and Gregory are healthy, that could be a very underrated duo. We know what Chubb can do when he's healthy. Randy Gregory as well, but he's always getting injured and suspended. But if he's on the field, and they gave him $7 million, so clearly they believe in him. They're solid in the interior with DJ Jones and Draymond Jones. Linebacker, you have Josie Jules, a good young linebacker that you have. Their secondary is going to be dominant. Pat Surtain, who had a huge rookie year. Ronald Darwin's a great cover corner. You got a great safety in Justin Simmons as well as Kareem Jackson's a really good, versatile defensive back. Should have a great defense. Definitely be able to score offensively with Russell Wilson and all his weapons. Denver should be really good this year, and they'll be in the playoffs. In last place in the AFC West, I have the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, the Raiders had a really good offseason. They had one of the best receivers in the league, maybe the best receiver in the league, in Devontae Adams. They traded 2 firsts and 2 seconds to give him a $140 million extension over 5 years. I like that they do that. They also add Chandler Jones, who's a really good edge rusher, on a 3-year deal. Pairing him with Max Crosby will be very exciting. This offense doesn't score a lot. Derek Carr is a solid starter. Josh Jacobs, who's, probably his last year at the team, going to be afraid at the end of the year. They drafted Samir White in the 4th round. They like him. He saying he might take some away some touches from Josh Jacobs. But Jacobs is still a very good player. And they got Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow. This is an incredible duo. Renfrow is amazing in the slot. Very good route runner. Darren Waller healthy this year. Great tight end. You can see their O-line really isn't that good. It wasn't fantastic last year. Gave up 40 sacks last year. They have a real good left tackle in Colton Miller, but Alex Leroy, who's short was a rookie. They tried moving him to guard. Apparently, he's going to be back to tackle this year. John Simpson and Lester Cotton Sr. at guard is very uninspiring. Under James is all right at center, nothing special. I think they got a real good defensive line. First of all, outside their pass rush, don't love anything else really. On the interior with Andrew Billings and below Nichols, that could be a little better. Linebacker, the Denzel Pyron's a good player, but the other two, Jayon Brown's all right. The Hoodler linebacker is. Secondary leaves a lot to be desired. Their stars right now are Rocky Sin and Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs is the guy who's inexperienced. He had some multiple issues last year. Rocky Sin's a good slot corner. I don't know what he can do, on the outside. 2 young safeties in Jonathan Abram and Trevor Mooring, who have some talent, but have had some trouble staying on the field. Have their own harm in there as well, but he doesn't blow anybody away. Their defense is very mediocre. Though they have a great offense, they also don't have a very good offensive line, so I think that'll be a concern for sure. The O-line, when they play another charge twice a year, facing Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, placing Denver, if Robbie Chubb is there, could be a problem. If his defense isn't horrible when they play, the elite offenses, like every other team in their division, could have some trouble keeping teams off the board. So I have them finishing in last place, which is not a knock. They are still, I think, a decent team. The division is just so stacked, I think they're a little bit overpowered. Shifting to the NFC, let's talk about the NFC East. I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East. Eagles had a great offseason. They added one of the league's best receivers, A.J. Brown, giving up a couple draft picks and then signing him to a big 4-year extension. That was a big pickup for the Philadelphia Eagles. Had a great draft, and you add a incredibly talented defensive tackle in Jordan Davis, who's one of the fastest interior D linemen I've ever seen. They're going to have a really good defensive line. You might have Son Reddick, outside linebacker. You already have Brandon Graham there, who's older but still really good defensive end. You have Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox already there in the middle. Good luck running on the Eagles this year. Derek Barnett's still there as a pretty good pass rusher. You also have the Kobe Dean draft, a young linebacker who I like. I like their secondary. Darius Slay's a great corner. James Bradbury, you pick up, is a good player. Anthony Harris is a pretty good safety. It's supposed to be taught over there. Marcus Epps is okay. And their offense, obviously, the question is Hurts. Guy really struggled to throw the ball down the field, but he's incredible with his legs. Miles Sanders is a great young running back. Boston Scott is a good pass catching back. You also have Devonta Smith, who is a great young receiver. First round pick last year, coming up a Heisman win. I really, really like him. I love this guy. He was a great tight end, supposedly. He's been getting a lot of targets in practice. Great offensive line. Jason Kelce in the last year of his career. Also they drafted Cam Jordan to be his heir apparent. Probably his last year. One of the league's best centers. Lane Johnson's a great right tackle. I like Landon Dickerson, the young left guard. I think Sam pretty good at right guard. Left tackle Joe Malaya played well last year in his first year as a starter. They got all the pieces. Big year for Jalen Hurts. I like him. Coming out of college, They're struggling a little bit at Alabama, even though he did win the national championship. He was kind of on the bench for it. Goes to Oklahoma and absolutely balled out because who I do believe can throw a football, who I think has a really good arm, and obviously we can make play with his legs. It's just that he's very erratic. If he can improve that, I think he can. Now he's got better weapons with A.J. Brown, a top receiver in the league, wants to spend another year on the belt, Goddard, and the other guys they have there. I think he could take a big step forward this year. I think the Eagles will win the division. Finishing in second place in the NFC East, I have the Dallas Cowboys. All right, Dallas. Apparently they're America's team. I don't know why. That's another conversation. Very talented offense. Dak Prescott is not an elite quarterback, but he is a solid starter at the least. They got a good running with Zeke and Elliott, Tony Pollard. Zeke's a little older now, not what he once was. But he still can give you 1,000 yards. Tony Pollard's really good. I think Zeke will be let go after the year because of how good Tony Pollard is. He can really catch the ball. I love the receivers. CeeDee Lamb is great. Mahmoud was going to miss the first game, but he will not be on the pup list, so he'll be back, I would think, by at least week 3 or 4. They got a really good tight end in Dalton Schultz. That being said, we got some breaking news earlier today. Their all-pro left tackle Tyron Smith tore his hamstring and could be out several months. May not be back until December. That's a huge loss for them. I love Zach on their right guard, but the rest of the line, Tubad's pretty good, young center. The left tackle right now, the depth chart says Josh Ball. Never even heard of him. It might be Tyler Smith, the first rounder, or who's kind of tackling college, but might move to guard. We don't know. Terrence Steele's very inexperienced at right tackle. Common Govern's meh at left guard. That's a huge loss for their offensive line. That's a major, major loss. I don't think their offensive line is going to be able to hold up until he gets back. I think that's a major problem for the Dallas Cowboys. And their defense, though I love Micah Parsons, he is a beast. He's a linebacker that had 14 sacks as a rookie, great in coverage against the run. He does it all. I like their linebacking core. Leighton Van Rich, when healthy, is pretty good. Not when he was as a rookie, but still is pretty good. Anthony Barr is a good player. Trevon Diggs is a great ball hawker. Not because he also gets torched a lot. The rest of their D-line, and DeMarcus Lawrence shelves for myself. Interior line with Osa, Odighiwoza, whatever his name is, and Neville Gallimore doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. The rest of their secondary with, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis at corner. Safeties are Malik Hooker and Jaron Curse isn't great. I think the defense, again, is just a two-man show. They'll be able to, I think they'll force some turnover when they play some top offenses. I think they're going to run into some trouble. Dak's not going to have the protection he's had in the past. Their offense is still really good, but they do lose Amari Cooper, who's their vertical thrust. Cedric Wilson was a good speed that they had as well. They don't bring back. If their O-line being weakened, I think Dallas will definitely be in second place in the division this year. In third place, I have the Washington Commanders. All right, last year 7-10. I think might be right where I'm saying they bring in Carson Wentz. They said they wanted to get a big name at quarterback, also Wilson or something like that. And he ended up with Carson Wentz. I don't even think that's a good consolation prize. I don't think he's very good at all. He fumbles the ball too much. He can't make a big play when it matters. I like some of the pieces they have there. They got a really good running back room. Antonio Gibson is very good. McKissick is a good pass catching back. They love this kid Brian Robinson, third runner out of Alabama, who might end up starting for them. I like their receivers. With Terry McLaurin's a great player. I'm happy he got his contract this offseason. J.R. Dotson, the first round I like. Curtis Samuel healthy can be pretty good. I like Logan Thomas having him healthy. They're a good red zone threat as a tight end. I like their O-line. Charles Leon's a good left tackle. Sam Cousins is a good young player at right tackle. I like their guards. Well, on the right side, at least with Troy Turner. Chase Roy is a pretty good center. Andrew Norwell is a downgrade from Sheriff, but Sheriff also can't stay healthy last couple of years, so they got a pretty good offensive line. But defense, even though they're without Chase Young for the first 4 weeks, he should be back by at least the early part of the season. Even without him, Montez Sweat's a great edge rusher. You've got Jonathan Allen, De'Aaron Payne inside, which is very, very good. You lose Matt Ioannidis, but you also drafted Adrian Mathis, who I like out of Alabama. They got 3 Alabama defensive linemen there. Obviously, the 4 first rounds with Sweat, Allen, Payne, and Chase Young, who's hurt. You'll have Chase Young hopefully by week 5. 2 good young linebackers where I like it, Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb. Secondary though is a concern for me. Kendall Fuller's pretty good at corner. Their other corner is William Jackson. Didn't have a great year last year. Their safeties are all right. Bobby McCain's pretty good. Coleman Curls in there. So I think their secondary could struggle a little bit again. Though I do like their front 7. That being said, it's not as down. If Chase Young hurt to start the year, Ionitis isn't there anymore. You lose some pieces. And I don't trust Carson Wentz when the game's on the line. So I think Washington finishes in 3rd place. In last place in the NFC East, I have the New York Giants finishing in last place. All right, they're bringing in the regime finally with Brian Daboll and Joe Show from Buffalo. So I think there's finally some hope. That being said, they still don't have a good team. Yes, they do. O-line is better, drafting Evan Neal in the 1st round. I like him. He'll be the right tackle. I really like him. You saw Mark Lewinsky at right guard, John Feliciano at center. Feliciano's all right. I think he's a very good right guard. Got 2 good young tackles. Lewinsky's pretty good. Feliciano's all right, but Shane Lemieux still isn't good. The O-line is better. I don't think it's great, but the O-line is better. I love him drafting Kevon Thibodeaux. He's hurt, but should be back by at least week 2 or 3. Having Blake Martinez healthy will definitely help. I don't have confidence in Daniel Jones. I think the guy is terrible. Should not be a starter in this league. I think Tyrod Taylor might see the field this year. Saquon Barkley is having this F everybody mindset. Good on him. I do like that kind of mindset for a guy. Doubt a lot, but I still have confidence he can stay healthy. Even when he's on the field, he has not been the same. I don't see it. Kenny Galladay was horrible last year. He hasn't looked good in training camp. I don't think he's a good fit for their offense. That was a major overpay by Dave Gettleman. I like Kadarius Toney. He's a good young receiver, but I heard the coaches don't love him, and he just shows up like training camp. He battled injuries last year, so still not sold on him. Storm Shepard's healthy now. Him and Darius Toney are pretty good. And the receiving core, I don't think is as great, although they got some good depth as it seems. Defensively, they have some young players I like on defense. Inside, Leonard Williams is really good. Dexter Lawrence is a good young player. I like Azeez Ojulari. I love Thibodeaux. I think they could have a talented defensive line. But linebacker, outside of Blake Martinez, they are very inexperienced. Covering with tight ends could be a big problem this year. They're going to see Dallas Goedert twice a year. They'll see Logan Thomas twice a year. They'll see Dalton Schultz twice a year. That could be a problem. Secondary, I don't really like at all. Dory Jackson's all right. Their starting corner right now is Aaron Robinson, who's very inexperienced. I like Xavier McKinney, the young safety, but Julian Love's their starter. I think their defense is a little inexperienced. I don't trust Daniel Jones. The offense should be a little bit better, especially with Brian Daboll as their head coach. I think the defense isn't terrible. We'll play a little better. But I don't trust Daniel Jones, so Giants will be a little bit better, but still in last place in their division. Now for the NFC North, in 1st place, I have the Green Bay Packers. Okay, Green Bay loses Devontae Adams, which is a huge loss. Rory cannot replace him. The receiver room is not great. That being said, their O-line is definitely going to be better. Having Bacateri healthy, Dave Bacateri is a great left tackle. Having Elton Jenkins, who can play guard, can play tackle, can play anywhere, is a great player. Having him healthy, I like Josh Myers, the young center, who of course is a stayover. Now you add Jaron Reed, boost your interior D-line. You re-sign Devontae Campbell, linebacker, and you draft Quay Walker. You re-sign Roswell Douglas, who's a good young corner. You have Jari Alexander healthy. You have the rest of the team. You have Aaron Rodgers, who's 2-time defending MVP. It's an amazing quarterback. You have a really good running game of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Almozak, I do like Almozak. I do think he is a pretty good player. He's flashed at times. I do think he can be solid. Can he be a wide receiver 1? I'm not sure. But I don't think the guy's trash or anything like that. I like Christian Watson, second-round pick. I know he's had some drop issues in practice, but Jamar Chase had drop issues in preseason games last year, and he went out and had 1,400 yards last year. That was the rookie of the year. Obviously, Chase was a top 5 pick, and Watson was a second-round pick. That being said, my point is, just because a guy struggles a little bit, in practice and in training camp and in preseason does not mean, as a rookie, they're going to go out and be like that in the regular season. They could just be a little nervous. You never know. Just have Robert Toney back healthy as a good tight end, really good in the red zone. That'll definitely help. This defense, I think, is going to be a force to be reckoned with. They got Preston Smith coming off the edge. Rashawn Gary now getting playing time. Darius Smith no longer there. Kenny Clark and Jerron Reed in the middle. Devondre Campbell, Quay Walker at linebacker. They got a really good group of linebackers. I like their secondary. Jare is maybe the best cover corner in the game. Eric Stokes is a good young corner they have. You have Virgil Douglas, who played great last year. You have Stokes, who you drafted last year. That was pretty good. Two good savers in Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage. They should have a great defense. I think they'll be top 10 in the game. Matt LaFleur's a great coach. Packers should still win the division and shouldn't really be that close. In second place, I have the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings are definitely going to be better. I'm not going to touch the Packers, but I think they will be better. I love them bringing in Kevin O'Connell. Definitely much better than Mike Zimmer, what he was doing the last couple of years. Kirk Cousins is not an elite starter. I don't trust him to win a big game, though he is a very good starting quarterback. Dalvin Cook is a beast. Great running back, great pass catcher. Justin Jefferson is an amazing receiver. Most receiving yards in his first two seasons of any player ever. Adam Thielen, having him healthy, he's a great player. Fantastic red zone threat. KJ Osborne and through receiver sets, which you'll see a lot in Minnesota this year. We'll get some more reps. As I played well last year, hopefully the Vikings really like him. He'll have an uptick in targets. Having your tight end Irv Smith healthy will definitely help. I like the young tight end there. Tyler Conklин's not there anymore. Kyle Rudolph's not there anymore. Irv Smith. I think we'll get an increase in targets. This team's going to be more pass-heavy offense than the run-heavy offense. O-line, not fantastic. I like Christian Darrisaw, the young left tackle you drafted last year. Brian O'Neill's very good. The rest of it, though, the interior O-line is really concerning for me. Garrett Bradbury's terrible pass blocker. Is a pretty good run blocker, but not a good pass blocker. They declined to your option. They're trying to look for an upgrade over him. The guard, Ezra Cleveland's been a little inconsistent so far. Jesse Davis, I don't think is that good. You both made a call in the offseason, so not sure how great they're going to perform. See if Wyatt Davis will be able to get some playing time. Third-round pick last year. So O-line isn't great on defense. They're starting to age a little bit, but they also do have some young guys that they mix in. Daniel Hunter is still a good player. I like Devin Thompson in the middle there. Linebacker Eric Kendricks is still a really good player, but you bring in Darius Smith, what I like, is still really good. Jordan Hicks is a good player. You bring in, get to Arizona, which he's been trying to do for like 2 years at this point. Pat Pearson's older, still a solid cover corner. I like you drafting Andrew Booth. And you have a veteran safety in Harrison Smith, who's still really good, and you draft Louis Sine in the first round, who I really like. So the defense would struggle the last 2 years. I think will be better. And they're going to more of a pass-happy offense than a run-happy offense. I think that will definitely benefit the Vikings. They have a lot of weapons. Dalvin Cook is a weapon in the passing game. So I think the Vikings will be very good. Won't cut to Packer, but I think could easily be in the playoffs. In third place in the NFC North, I have the Detroit Lions. Okay, obviously they're a horrible organization. I do not think they make the playoffs, but I think they are starting to make some strides. Offensively, I think they're really, really talented. Goff, who struggled in the first half last year, is not far from the lead. I think he's a decent starter. Played well in the second half last year. They got a really good running game. DeAndre Swift's a great running back, can catch the ball. He's really good. Jamal Williams there's the number 2 back, really good. They got some great receivers. Amon Ross St. Brown was a beast down the stretch. He's really good. DJ Shark, you bring in. Last time he was healthy, was a good player for the Jaguars. I like him. Josh Reynolds played well last year. He's a solid receiver. James Williams is out. He's on the pup list, so may not be back till midseason, but you'll have him back probably sometime before, I think, week 8. I'm thinking week 5 or 6 or so. First round pick. I love him coming out of Alabama. I think he'll be a great receiver. TJ Hawkins is a great tight end. Really good O-line with 2 really good young tackles, and Taylor Decker, who's a great player. Panay Sewell will be great. Last year was a rookie. Great third fake right now. Good young guard and Joe Jackson. Hal Valier right guard. They've got a really good offensive line. On defense, I don't think they have a good defense, but they do have some young guys I like. Aiden Hutchinson is second pick. I think might be defensive rookie of the year. He's a beast coming out of Michigan. Michael Brogos in the middle is pretty good. Should have Romeo Okwara hopefully by week 5. He's on the pup list. He's a very good player. He's Bart Juino Okwara and Notre Dame is there. Their linebacking core isn't very good. Secondary, Amani, whatever his name is, still young. We'll see what he can do. He's definitely unproven. We'll see if Jeff Okuda can finally step up. I'm not sure. He's had some injuries. Very consistent. He's been a disappointment so far. Will Harris is penciled in right now. Not sure how they feel about that. I like Tracy Walker, who's a very good player. The other safety might be Deshaun Elliott. They have Ifeatu Melifanu there, another young guy. So they're very experienced on defense. I think will hurt them, especially when they play the Packers. But they are very talented on offense. So I think they'll take a step forward. In last place in the NFC North, I have the Chicago Bears. They may have a number 1 pick in the draft this upcoming season. Their team is terrible. Young coach Matt Eberflus is a rookie head coach. I like him. He did a great job in Indianapolis. We'll see what he does this year as a head coach. Of course, they have a new GM as well, and Ryan Poles. They bring in from Kansas City. As I said, Devin Funchess showed up his first preseason game too. Ooh, that's something I haven't heard in a while. It's another guy that they have. The Bears have a young quarterback in Justin Fields, who I really, really, really love. I think has a chance to be an outstanding player. Michael Parrish would actually be like Matthew Stafford, but more mobile. I think he's got to be a great player. Here's the thing: he's got a young running back where I like David Montgomery. He's healthy. His receivers are not good. Jordan Mooney's pretty good. He's very talented. He's gotten better every year. After that, he's got Brian Pringles. Meh. He can maybe be an okay number 3 option. According to St. Brown's, more of a depth option. Tajay Sharp's not any good. Elis Jones I've never even heard of. N'Keal Harry's horrible. I think your team got worse by bringing him in. He's injured anyway. Their tight end Cole Kmet's okay. Hasn't shown me much. As I said, Pat's got to be gushing over his options over there. Yeah, welcome in Patrick to the Cavs. He's a big Lions fan. He's got a lot of weapons over there in Detroit. But yeah, just feel his weapons are not good. Receivers are not good. This offensive line is horrible. It is terrible. I like left guard Clay Whitehair's pretty good. They bring in Riley Wright at right tackle. He's pretty good. But you got Kevin Jenkins, who struggled as a rookie. Now they're moving him to guard. I don't know what we can expect out of him. Their center was going to be Lucas Patrick, who's okay. Now he's hurt. I don't know who the heck their center is going to be. I don't know who the heck their left tackle is. Braxton Jones, apparently. He's not any good. Their offensive line is terrible. They gave up the most sacks in the league last year with 58. And they might be right around there again, if not more. Their O-line is horrible. Their offense is going to be absolutely terrible. And their defense, I think, is going to regress. They lose Akeem Hicks up front. They lose Khalil Mack on the edge. You still have Robert Quinn, but I think a lot of Robert Quinn's success last year had like 17 or 18 sacks because Khalil Mack at times. I think he'll regress a little bit. Still a great player. But the rest of that D-line is very, very weak. Orphan Smith, he ended his holdout. Took back his trade request. He'll play for them last year of his contract for the Bears. The rest of the linebacker core isn't great. In the secondary, I like Jalen Johnson, the young corner. But the other corner, Kyler Gordon is very inexperienced. He's a rookie. Jaquan Brisker is a rookie. He's going to have his ups and downs. A. Jackson's really good. But I think their secondary is going to struggle. At the middle, they're a little weak. They got no offense. They're going to be really bad, the Chicago Bears. Moving on to the NFC South. I do have Tampa Bay Buccaneers win the NFC South still. I do have some concerns, and that concern is the offensive line. I like Donovan Smith, their left tackle. He's solid. Christian Murphy's a beast at right tackle. Chuck Mason bringing him in at right guard, reunites him with Brady. He's very good, but left guard, they lose Alex Kaplan for agency. Aaron Stinney, who was probably going to start in his place, he tore the ACL. He's done for the year. He got hurt preseason. So right now they're starting Luke Goddard, who I've never heard of. Their center Ryan Jensen, who's one of the best centers in the league. He's injured. No time now for a return. Probably going to miss a lot of time. Right now Robert Hainsey's their star. So the interior offline really concerns me for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think their O-line will take a step back. That's tough for a team. Obviously, Tom Brady's 45 years old and he's very immobile. He's always had really good offensive lines his whole career. He said Brady is Brady. Still one of the best quarterbacks in the game. One of the greatest of all time. You got Leonard Fournette, who's a great running back. Big year last year, great runner, really good in the passing game. Mike Gavin is a beast, amazing in the red zone, very underrated. 8 straight 1,000-yard seasons. No one's ever done that to start their career. He's very underrated. Chris Godwin should have him for week 1. If not, you'll have him by very early on. He's a great player. You have Russell Gage, who's really good. You bring in Julio Jones, who a couple of years ago was a top 5 receiver in the game. Older now, had a tough year last year, but I think if he's healthy, in an offense that's going to get him some more passes, I think he could contribute. You still got, Scotty Miller's a speed threat there. Tyler Johnson is another guy you have there. You got a good tight end. Gronk is not there. He retired, but Kevin Brate is still pretty good. You have Kyle Rudolph there as well, who's a veteran. They have a great defense. You have up the middle with Akeem Hicks and Vita Vea. You got Logan Hall there. Razim Lucas Rushes. You're good luck running on the Bucs. You're not going to be able to run on them. You haven't been able to run on them in years. That will continue. They don't have Jason Pierre-Paul. They haven't re-signed him, so he's not there right now. But you do have Joe Tyron, who you drafted last year. I like him. 2 great linebackers with Devin White, who's a beast, and Wanda Davis, a great player. So I got Shaq Barrett, who's a beast. The front 7 is still dominant. They are probably going to have the best run defense in the league. They can get after the passer. They got some young in the secondary. They're very young. Sean Murphy-Bunting's okay. I like Jamal Dean. Quentin Davis is pretty good. Anton Winfield's a great saver. They bring in Logan Ryan. They got Kellen Neal there. So they're going to have a great defense. Tom Brady's still a great quarterback. He's going to have a lot of weapons. O-line's a little bit of a concern on the interior, but I still think Tampa is a really good team and they'll win the NFC South. In second place in the NFC South, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. Saints made some changes this offseason, obviously. Their head coach, Sean Payton, retired. Well, for now, he's stepped away. He's going to recharge. Might be back in the game next year, but for now, he stepped down. They promoted Dennis Allen, their defensive coordinator, which I like because they were so late in the head coach cycle. Time they made the coaching change. I think he deserves a second chance of being a head coach, Dennis Allen. He's done a really good job as defensive coordinator, so that was a good choice. It all starts with Jameis Winston. Will he be a turnover machine? He was playing really well before he got hurt last year. He's got some. And Alvin Kamara is a top 5 back arguably in the league. He's a beast, great in the passing game. I know Michael Thomas is already battling injuries, but just 5 games the last 2 years. He's got his issues. But if he's healthy, I think they should have him by at least the very start of the season, the first 2 games of the season. Last time he was healthy, he had the most catches in a year by a receiver ever. When healthy, the guy's a beast. Of course, Olave, who's had a great camp. I really like him out of Ohio State. Jarvis Landry's older, still a really good player. Of course, from LSU. Playing where he's from. Dream come true for him. I like Adam Trautman, the young tight end. You have Tyson Hill that will be mixed in. You do lose RM7, but you still have some playmakers on the O-line. I guard Andrew Pete's a great player. Cesar Ruiz is a good player. Eric McCoy's a great center. Ryan Ramczyk, one of the league's best right tackles. Left tackle, it might be James Hurst, a veteran, or the rookie Trevor Penning, who's a bit of a project. You still have a very good offensive line. Defense, still have a great defense, even though you lose some pieces. So Cameron Jordan's still a very good player. Up the middle, you got David Onyemata. Demario Davis is a great linebacker. The secondary, you have still Marshall Lamar, who's a great corner. You got Bradley Roby, who's a good cover corner. I say the Tyler Matthew you bring in, obviously, he grew up in Louisiana, went to LSU. A little older, not the same in cover, but still really good safety. Marcus May coming off an injury. If he gets healthy, he's a good player. They still got a great defense. Still got a great offensive line. They got some weapons there. I think the Saints will be very, very competitive this year. Remember, last year they were just out of the playoffs by having 4 different quarterbacks last year. In third place, I have the Carolina Panthers. I don't think they'll be very good, but they're just not as bad as the Atlanta Falcons. They got Baker Mayfield. I'm not a fan of. I don't think he's horrendous. Now that he'll be healthy, he found some injury last year. He'll play a little better, but I don't think he's great. I think he's kind of mediocre. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, when he's healthy, is a monster. But can he stay healthy? It's a big question. When healthy, obviously, he's an amazing pass catcher and he's probably the best back in the league. And Isaiah appears to be high on the Saints. He said Saints will be electric with Winston and Thomas back plus other reinforcements. He said Winston will be top 3 in MVP voting. That's a bold take. You got to remember, Isaiah, Michael Thomas is already hurt again. He's hurting. He's hurting. He hasn't been playing in preseason because he's got a hamstring problem. Hopefully he's okay. He's a monster when he's healthy. Carolina does have some good receivers. Jim Moore's a great player. Robbie Anderson's a good player. And Terrence Morris is a young kid who was hurt last year, who I like. The O-line's a little better. Ike Ekwonu will be the left tackle. The youngster first round pick. I like him. Termon's a great tackle. They got two good tackles. Wilson Corbett is a pretty good player. You bring him in at right guard, but your center is Pat Eiflin, who's not very good. And your left guard is Michael Jordan. It's not the Michael Jordan you're thinking of, so how good can he really be? He's not that good. And Isaiah, still talking about the Saints, he said he's already shown elite qualities. He can throw 33 and 30. Obviously, last year in Tampa Bay, 33 touchdowns, but 30 picks. Turn some of his 30 into 5-7 more touchdowns, and he's cracking 40. Yeah, that's true. We'll see what happens over there in New Orleans. But Carolina O-line's better, but the interior still is weak. They got their little inexperience. Defense, I don't love it. I love Brian Burns, a great player. Your Turcos Mayos has been a bust so far. I like Matt Ioannidis inside, but Derek Brown, we're still waiting on him. The guy was a stud coming out of Auburn. He's been a bust so far. We'll see what he can bring. Chuck Thompson's a good player, but the rest of their linebacking core is very weak. In the secondary, Dante Jackson's pretty good. I like J.C. Horn, but he was injured a lot of his rookie year. We'll see what he does. I like Jeremy Chin at safety. Xavier Woods is pretty good. Defense is all right. It's decent. I still think Baker Mayfield's not going to have a great. Although McCaffrey can stay healthy, so they'll be a little better than they were last year, probably. Also, I do not like Matt Rule as a coach at all. I think he's a terrible coach. Ben McAdoo's the offensive coordinator, not good either. I think the coaching is very, very porous over there and kind of might drag them down, but they're not as bad as the Falcons, so they'll be in third place. In last place is the Atlanta Falcons. They are very bad, the Atlanta Falcons. There's no way around it. Right now, they're starting Marcus Mariota, who has had a pretty good camp, but he has not started the game in like 3 years. I don't mind him getting a second chance. He had 5 different offensive coordinators in Tennessee. But in Atlanta, he doesn't have many better. The run game there is not good. Cordell Patterson's not any good. Tyra Algier, they draft. 6th round rookie. Probably should be thrown into the fire right away. Damian Williams is, he's a good guy to have. Catch the ball a bit, but he's nothing special. I like Drake London. Should be okay for week 1 with the injury. Isaiah commenting on Carolina Panthers. Panthers will have Baker play good, but they don't have the team good with not much else is going for Carolina. That's very true. The O-line is a concern. The defense has some holes. The play calling is a concern. Very good point by Isaiah. Drake London, I really like him as a rookie. Otherwise, their receivers are terrible otherwise. Brian Edwards is not any good. Jameer Bird's not any good. Obviously, you don't have Kevin Ridley for the year because of the suspension. Olamide Zacchaeus is not any good. Coppins is a great tight end outside of him and Drake London. The weapons are not very good over there. We'll see if Desmond Ridder, the 3rd round rookie, will see some time. O-line, a little concerning. Jake Mathis is a great left tackle. Chris Lyncham has made strides as a right guard, but Caleb McGray has been disappointing. Left guard right now is Elijah Wilkinson or Jalen Mayfield. That's not a good situation there. Matt Hennessy is a young center. Their line's very young. And their defense is terrible. I don't like it at all. Gray John's really good in the middle there. The rest of their D-line, though, is terrible. Linebacker Deion Jones is really good. Rashawn Evans is pretty good. Love the linebacker overall. Could still be better. I love A.J. Terrell. Great cover corner. Casey Hayward's an underrated player, but they're safeties. Richie Grant's a young player. We'll see what he can bring. He might be pretty good, but there are safeties. Jalen Hawkins I've never heard of. They got a lot of holes. They got a young coach North who I like. He's still learning. The O-line's low on experience. They don't have a good quarterback situation. Not good weapon. Defense isn't great. I have them in last place. Last but not least, certainly not least, we got a very, very competitive NFC West. In first place, I have the defending Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams, finishing in first place. Did you lose some pieces in the offseason? But you got Matthew Stafford, who's a great quarterback, top 10 in the NFL at least, had a career year last year, got a really good run game. If Cam Akers healthy and Dell Henderson, Cooper Kupp, league's best receiver, you have him. Al Robinson's really good. I could see them bring back OBJ. We'll see what happens. And he may not be there until midseason anyway. Maybe they'll pick him up when he's healthy. But Tutu Atwell's a young guy I like. We'll see what he can bring. Tyler Higbee's a very good tight end. O-line loses some pieces, but you still got Rob Havenson's a really good right tackle. Got solid center and Brian Allen. David Edwards is pretty good at left guard. Left tackle Joe Newboom, low inexperience, and the right guard is Coleman Shelton. So your line takes a step back, but it's still okay. They just said OBJ ain't rushing his decision anytime soon. He's going to be taking it slow. We'll see what he does if he goes back to the Rams. Maybe he goes somewhere else. We'll see. Now, defense, they still got Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, the best defensive player in the league, one of the greatest defensive tackles of all time, one of the greatest defensive players of all time. You got Eshaun Robinson over there. Larry Foote's a great edge rusher. You bring in Bobby Wagner, still a great linebacker in the middle there. In the secondary, still got Jalen Ramsey. I'm not a fan of, and he does get beat a little bit, but he is one of the league's best 5 corners. You bring back Troy Hill, is pretty good. You have safety. You have Jordan Flowers, a really good young player. Taylor Rapp's pretty good. So will they repeat? That remains to be seen. But I do think they still win the division. Next, it's the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, the biggest question is the quarterback. Trey Lance, third pick last year. They said he was going to start. Will Jimmy Garoppolo be there week 1? That remains to be seen. First of all, I really like Trey Lance. I think he is ultra talented. He can be a great quarterback in this league. Elijah Mitchell, young running back who's been injured. They get this offseason. Kyle Shanahan said he's healthy. They got good depth there with Jeff Wilson and Trey Sermon. Deebo Samuel, they worked out an extension with him. He's a beast. Brandon Ayuk's a really good receiver, a top 3 tight end in the league, and George Kittle. They got an outstanding offensive line. It's very, very good. They do lose Laken Tomlinson, but Trent Williams is maybe the best lineman in the league. Mike McGlinchey on the other side, the right tackle is very good. You do lose some pieces. Alex Mack, your center, retired, and then you lose Laken Tomlinson to the Jets. So they're very young in the interior, but you still have some really good tackles. Trey Lance can make plays with his legs, so I think they might be okay. And they are outstanding defensively. Up the middle, we got Alec Armstead, Javen Kinlaw from our first rounder. Nick Bosa's a stud. He had 17 or 18 sacks last year. Simpson Ukebaum's pretty good, outside linebacker. You have some really good linebackers. Fred Warner's a beast. We also have Dre Greenlaw, who's very good. Secondary is one thing they could do a little better at. But they do have to bring in Travarius Ward, who's a good player. Jason Reck can stay healthy. He's very good. At safety, Jimmy Ward's a pretty good player. Kyle Shanahan's a very good coach. I have confidence in Trey Lance. I think the offense will score a lot. I think they'll be very good. The Niners should be in the playoffs once again. In third place, I have the Arizona Cardinals. Bit of a interesting offseason there of, them getting scared by the whole Kyler Murray thing, and then DeAndre Hopkins getting suspended. It's not been a pleasant offseason. Of course, gave Kyler $230.5 million extension. But Kyler Murray, he is a great quarterback. I think he's really talented. You got James Conner, who's a great pass catcher. He's very good in the red zone. He's a good running back. He had a really good year last year, a lot of touchdowns. Even with Hopkins out, Marquise Brown is really good. Rondell Moore's a good thing receiver. He's had a good camp. A.J. Green's still pretty good. Zach Ertz is a great tight end. O-line is pretty good. Humphries is a solid left tackle. Kelvin Beachum's pretty good at right tackle. Freddie Hudson's a good center. You have Justin Pugh's pretty good. Right guard's definitely a weakness. They brought in Cody Ford. Will Hernandez is not good at all. But they got bringing Cody Ford, who's all right. So one is pretty good on defense. I don't think their defense is that great, to be honest. J.J. Watt cannot stay healthy. The rest of that D-line leaves a lot to be desired. At linebacker, I like Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons. They got Marcus Golden there. Corner, I like Byron Murphy, the young corner, but the rest of their corners, very inexperienced. Budda Baker's a great safety. But Jalen Thompson, their other starter, is very inexperienced. I think they'll score a lot of points, especially once they get Hopkins back. But with Kyler struggling with without Hopkins last year, never know. And I don't think their defense is that great. So I've been finishing in third place in the NFC West. In last place, I have the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle screwed us, yeah. Their quarterbacks are Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Both are terrible. And Geno Smith might be their star because he knows the offense a little more than Drew Lock. Whoever it is, they both suck. Although they got a good run game. Rashad Penny, if he's healthy, Kenneth Walker should be ready by at least the very early part of the season. They got good depth there. Got two great receivers with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. No offense, good young tight end. Get him for Russell Wilson. The ones are maybe a little better. Charles Cross is a good young left tackle you draft. I like Damian Lewis, the left guard. He's pretty good. Austin Blythe's a pretty good center. Gabe Jackson is all right. Right tackle is Abraham Lewis, which is a problem. So the one's a little better. Still isn't great. Defense is, oh Lord, not very good. They got Shelby Harris there, but that D-line, they're not going to be able to get a lot of pass rush. They're really weak up the middle at linebacker. Jordan Brooks has been a disappointment so far. Secondary, they have Jamal Adams, great against the run, extremely good pass rusher, but cannot cover for his life. Hunter Diggs is a good player. Their corners right now are Sidney Jones, the fourth, and Artie Burns, who are both not good. Their quarterback, they have probably the worst quarterback situation in the league. Maybe the defense is terrible. I think they'll have a tough time with here, Seattle. Isaiah just wrote Lee out of the walking L. Basically, they are not good. That is my NFL preview. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. I should be back at it tomorrow. That is the expectation. Until tomorrow, so long, and have a great day.